Hello and welcome back to the Wisdom for Humanity podcast series. Now in this series we're going to be helping you to go from your present state to your desired state through wisdom, knowledge and real life experiences. Now in episode number 7 we are talking about spirituality, and I've actually done something a little bit different in this episode. What I've done is I've left my window open. Now some of you might be able to hear the birds chirping and you might be able to hear them singing their beautiful songs, and you might think to yourself, well, this is very unprofessional, I'm not happy with this, and you might click off. However, I'm going to be giving you some teachings and some knowledge in a little while that are going to help you to understand why I've done that. Now, when we talk about spirituality, we mean many different things. We could talk about religion, Christianity, Hinduism, Buddhism, Sikhism, and all those other kind of religions. We could talk about the universe. We could talk about the universal consciousness, our collective mind state. We could talk about the geometric, macabre-based fractal emanation that we are considered and scientifically proven to be inside of, or we could talk about just general spirituality, how we feel in ourselves, our connection with ourselves, who we are, and what we want to do and be in the future. So the first topic that we're going to be covering on this subtopic is the deeper meaning. So now we come to the reason why I've opened this window. So if you heard the birds chirping and you heard them calling in the background, you thought to yourself that, that's very unprofessional, I'm not happy about that. The interesting thing is that you noticed. Right? You noticed the birds chirping, you noticed them singing in the background and playing their beautiful song. And a lot of the time as we walk through life, we miss the important bits. Alright? We miss the bits in life that should mean the most to us, like maybe the laugh of your child, or as you're going down the street feeling the sun on your face, or seeing a beautiful view as you're driving by and seeing a clear blue sky, or it's raining and you appreciate the sound of the rain. And when it comes to spirituality, we look at the deeper things. We look at stopping and appreciating the moment, hearing the pigeons coo and the birds chirp and the wind in the trees and the sun on our face. We notice and we look at what we can experience, what we can feel in that moment. And for some people it might not do anything for them. But the more you start to do it and the more you start to realise and appreciate it, what will start to happen is your life will do a whole turnaround. So if you're constantly worried and miserable and anxious and fed up and you don't know where to go, what happens is when you do this whole life turnaround, things start to change. You hear the birds chirping and you actually stop and you think to yourself, it feels like I've never listened to them before. It feels like I've never listened to the birds before. Or it feels like I've never focused on the feeling on my face. And some of you might be thinking, well, what's the point? Well, the point is that they're the little things. They're the little things that make life what it is, that make life such a beautiful adventure, being able to actually know that we can feel and experience in the 5 senses, sometimes in the 6, but that's for another time. But it's about knowing and feeling in those senses. And when you say to yourself that, well, hang on a minute, I never listened to the birds before. Ask yourself what else you never listened to. Your boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife. Maybe there's certain things that they're saying that you're not listening to. Maybe you're not reading between the lines of some of the things they're saying. Have you ever had that thing where you've known somebody for so long and all of a sudden something happens and you thought to yourself, well, I never knew. They hid it very well. And in the hiding and in the lack of stopping to have a look, we miss some of the most important information that we could ever focus on. These people are close to us. These people are the people we love, the people we care about. And yet so often we go through scenarios where we look in the mirror and we think to ourselves, wow, I didn't even focus. I didn't even listen to them truly. I didn't sit there and listen to what it is that they had to say. I didn't sit there and listen to what they want to do in life. And when we miss these important bits, right? The birds chirping is your boyfriend or girlfriend telling you how upset they are right now. And you brush it off and think, they'll get better. They'll be okay. And the problem with doing that is you've just overlooked it. We talk a lot about mental health. We talk a lot about these scenarios where people are suffering alone. This is the big thing. This is it. Right now, in this moment, this is what we're talking about. Is asking the question, are you listening? And I know that, some of you who are very spiritual people, you'll be saying to yourself, well, James, this isn't spirituality, but it is. It's the very core of spirituality, because if you believe that we are all the fractulated essence of a united consciousness, i.e. the entire universe that split itself up only to experience itself, okay, the universe splits itself into us as a humanity or a race or a species on this planet to experience itself because it was lacking that knowledge and understanding, then you get it. This is it. This is the purpose of everything. It's to understand and contemplate the deeper parts of life, the deeper meanings in life, the things that matter to us the most. And if you've brought someone into your life, guess what? You're now sharing a portion of that time with them. And if you're sharing a portion of that time with them, then you've got to focus on it. You've got to focus on understanding it, and you've got to focus on listening, just like the little birds outside. They've stopped now. I've clearly scared them away. But you get the point. Alright, this is what we've got to do. This is how we've got to get ourselves to a better understanding, is by learning through this process and understanding that if people are angry, upset, peed off, and you can't figure out why, there's always a reason. Whether it's just because of who they are, whether they're going through something, whether they need to learn how to look after other people before they attack and go after everybody, then there's something there. Okay, and this brings me really nicely onto my next point, which is not being hypnotized. Alright, we walk through life, myself included, and don't get me wrong, this isn't no criticism. We all find it very difficult not to do this. We walk through life hypnotized. Some of you are going to say, oh, come on, James, what do you mean? You ever been driving your car for 2.5 hours, you get to your destination, and you have zero recollection of any detail along that car journey? Anybody who's watching the podcast felt that? I know I have. You've been driving for 2.5 hours, you get to your destination, and if you were to sit down and actually cognitively recollect the entire journey and try and put it together, you would find it very difficult. Very, very difficult. You'd say to yourself, well, I didn't know that this red car overtook me at this point on the journey, and I didn't know that they were driving at 80 mile an hour whilst I was driving at 70 mile an hour. And that might be the finite details, and you say to yourself, well, that goes with all life. Well, of course it does. Because our brain is hypnotized and trained to focus on the important stuff. I.e., if birds aren't important to you, you're not going to hear them. If your partner's problems aren't important to you, you're not going to hear them. And some of you might say, well, James, that's ridiculous. I love my partner. I always want to care for them and look after them, and, I still can't see it. Don't worry about that. Again, this isn't a criticism. If this is you and you genuinely care about them and you still can't see it, then learn. That's what this podcast is here for. That's what my courses are there for. That's my one-on-one coaching is there for. To teach people how to learn to see it. And notice how I said there, teach people to learn to see it. Why? And that wasn't a mix-up. Because you will always be learning how to see it. Because it always changes. It never stays the same. Either the person you're with changes, or the experiences changes, or you change, or the environment you're in changes, or society changes. You've always got to learn to pick it up and see it. Because as society changes, the way we behave changes. Some of us. You see a lot of people, you see people like Little Pump, the little rapper, any of you like him? Have you ever noticed how people start saying a skit? Or you watch stuff on TV and people start saying the catchphrases and you start hearing them say it throughout the world. Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'll be back. Probably one of the most said movie phrases ever. Why do they say that? Because it's a society that is moving together. And you might say there are some pretty poor examples, perhaps, but it's a society moving together, and we have to learn to constantly learn to see our loved ones, their pain and what they're going through. And this brings me nicely onto the next bit, which is the universe. And I don't have a religion. My religion is a knowing of the universe. And it might upset some people, and I'd get that, but I'd never knock religion. In fact, I think that religion is a beautiful thing. Why? Because their teachings are really nice most of the time. A lot of them, they say that if you have to love people, you have to treat people the way you expect to be treated, you have to look out for your fellow man or woman, and that's amazing. And those teachings are through all of the religions. They are. If you go into the books, they're through all the religions. They're all the religions. It says, love thyself and people around us and all those kind of things, and that's why I like it. But the universe, it's got something else. Right, it's got something else, and a lot of the religions do follow in this, but the universe has the law of attraction. The universe has the vibratory understanding. And if you understand how vibrations work and how emotions work alongside vibrations, what you'll actually notice is you start to understand how to control your life. So what it does is it takes it from an external control and brings it to an internal control. So when you are understanding how the universe works, the plants and how they grow and why they grow and what they do and why the sun provides the energy, why the sun is even there in the first place, why the planets are here, why we are here, if there's aliens, why they even exist, outside of the universe, if there's anything outside of that, the multi-dimensional universes, what's the point in all of it? When you start to understand what the point is, you start to open yourself up, and I'll be honest with you, once you open yourself up, your problems become non-existent. You actually sit there and you think to yourself, I can't make my car payment this week. But then you look at that big scheme and the grand scheme of things, and all of a sudden nothing matters. Nothing matters. You sit there and you think like, I don't care about that. And why don't I care about it? Because it's going to sort itself out. Because I'm in the right hands. But the understanding here and the conscious understanding of how the universe works is the fact that there is a level of respect. And I've spoken about this in past episodes. Is that there's a level of respect inside of it. There's a respect that when you understand it, and you understand how this win-win, give, get, take scenario goes on, that this is when you start to receive everything you want to receive. Because, let me just tell you something, okay? Walk outside your door, and if you don't have any countryside or any views in front of you, get in your car, get your walking boots on, get something on, and go and find a beautiful view across a vast horizon. You stand there, and let go of everything. Let go of your thoughts, let go of your mind, let go of your processes, let go of what you're worrying about. Don't think about Dave down the road. Don't think about Charlie over in this part of my work or whatever. Don't think about nothing. And just be and watch. And some of you might not appreciate that, but let me tell you something. When you do that, and you look at that horizon, you think to yourself, how could I ever be miserable looking at something like this? Because do you know what? In that moment, nothing else exists. Right? In that moment when you're looking across the horizon, you feel the warm sun on your face, or maybe it's nighttime and you can see the stars twinkling away, and maybe it's the moon is full and it's lighting up what you can see over in the vast distance. In that moment, nothing else matters. You could die in that very moment, and you die with the biggest smile across your face. Why? Because you feel it. You feel the truth. That this universe is so abundant in love and kindness and generosity that when we choose to adopt that and bring it into our lives, your whole life changes. And it doesn't take a lot of effort to be a good person. In fact, I'll be honest, it takes no effort. It takes more effort to be a bad person. Why? Because you end up destroying your own life. You end up hurting yourself. You end up pushing people away. You end up hurting other people, which goes against your human nature. Now that's a big, wow, there are going to be a lot of people tutting and giving me a good slap around the face for saying that one. You say, oh, James, yeah, that's a cute phrase. Look at history. Yes. Trust me. I've looked at history. I've seen all of the violence, the murder, the destruction, the war, the genocide, the pain, the suffering, the slavery, the destruction of cities and towns. I've seen it. But it's the past. And the past was ruled by specific people that were making the orders, and if you didn't do what they said, guess what? You get your head cut off. In some circumstances. You had a pretty bad time. If you defied them, you had a pretty bad time. And I would love for people to argue that bit. I totally understand the argument that, okay, as human nature, our human nature is to love and care. Because it just makes you feel so good. It's like a high. You don't need to do drugs to get that. You get high off of loving and caring for people. That's the beauty of it. You know how amazing it feels to make somebody feel better about themselves, or to make somebody feel loved and cared for? And this is what we have to understand, is that, yeah, there's been a load of bad stuff. Yes, there's been war. Yes, there's been destruction. There has been. It's in the past. And again, some people are going to be screaming saying it's still here. We make the choices in ourselves right now as to what we do moving forwards. Yeah, we're controlled by governments. Yes, we're controlled and dictated to by people. But I refuse to sit by and do nothing while people are being walked all over. And if you have an argument with that, then you do your own podcast. You start your own videos. You start your own quotes. You do lives. You coach people. You do a course. Because I am standing up. I am standing up for not only the universe and the earth and the collective consciousness of all of us, but I'm standing up for the people. The people in their skins, in their flesh, and in their bones. And There's a lot of pain and suffering still going on, but we are here to change that. And if you're with me, and if you believe in better, and if you believe this world can change, and if you believe that there is something more for you than what you're experiencing right now, then I'm telling you that this could be it. This realization, this understanding of how this works, this could be it for you. You could sit there and you could wallow in the misery. You could sit there and you can say this world is a horrible, destructive place. But I'm still going forwards. I'm still going to help and push to help people get up, and I can't do it without you. I can't do it without the people listening. I can't do it without you people helping. If you help me to change this world, we will prove together that what has not been done can be done. And I will lead that fight until the day I die. And this is what we have to look at, the universe and its higher perspective. What we're seeing, what we feel. The war that's gone on is not acceptable. The war that still goes on is not acceptable. And together we can make a difference. I know that. I feel that. And this brings me on to my final point, guys. That got very deep, and I hope you enjoyed that. It feels good to share these really deep moments with you. These deep parts of my life, and I, love to share it with you guys. And if you've got any comments, please feel free to drop me a message. Pop them down below. I really appreciate it. The last part I want to talk about today is nature. Alright, natural highs and nature. So I briefly just mentioned it a minute ago. What do I mean by natural highs? I mean highs where you feel that good in the present moment right now that nothing could match it. That you have beautiful people around you, you're laughing, you're smiling, it feels great, you don't want this moment to ever end. You ever had that feeling? That you never want this moment to end, you want it to keep on going forever and ever and ever and ever until you just get to a point where you're just in pure euphoria. You're just so happy and so content and so full that your whole life just lights up in front of you. I would say that if you want to reach that natural high, first thing to do, go out in nature. There's a beautiful woman who also actually said this to me recently. A lot of her practices is to do with nature and going out in nature, and I totally agree. It's not one of my teachings, but I agree that if you want to start somewhere, go out in nature. Go and live. Go and live amongst the plants, the trees, the animals. Camp out there if you have to. Some people might be again switching off, thinking that's a bit much, James, don't like that. Do what it takes, though. Do what it takes in these moments, and don't accept anything else than your full attention and undivided attention to getting yourself to where you want to be. Because that's the most important thing. Nothing else matters. Genuinely. Nothing else matters other than getting you to where you want to be. Then you can help everyone else. Nature's a beautiful way to do that. I told you about the birds. You might have heard them here and there as as you've been listening to this episode, just outside, hearing the wind blowing, the trees rustling outside, just being able to be there, watching the squirrels run up the trees or whatever it is you got, or the birds flying around. There's more to it than just birds, trees, and all that kind of stuff. There's beautiful views. You can go on trails, everywhere, snowboarding. There's a million different things you can do, and being out in nature is one of the best ways to ground yourself and realign yourself. Now, some of you might ask, well, what, James, I hear everyone say grounding. What does it mean? Grounding is bringing yourself back to earth. All right, you ever heard that, down to earth? He or she is down to earth. Right? It's because those people don't mess around in the BS that everyone else does. They don't mess around in the opinions and the destructive thoughts that might pop into their mind. That's why they're down to earth. They say it how it is, gently, respectfully, with love and care and passion. People who are down to earth and who are grounded are people who get it. They get the bigger picture. They understand it. And you could be searching for a millennia, right? You could be searching for tens of thousands of years for that answer, and I've given it to you in this episode. Go out in nature, take a breath, listen, action points, 3 of them. I would write them down. Go out in nature, take a breath, and listen. Because when you start listening, you're not just listening to nature. You're listening to your loved ones. You're listening to the voices in your head. Those thoughts that pop in and say, I wonder if my partner's alright. And you say, yeah, he's okay. She's alright, don't worry about that. They're just having a bad day. They're just having a rough day. You find out a few months later, it was too late. That was a really deep one to end on, but I want you to put it into perspective. This happens all over the world. This happens all the time. We don't listen. And to put it on a lighter note, guys, just to finish this episode off, I just want to say that, if you are listening, if you are spiritual, if you are taking the time, then let me know what you think about this episode. Share it with somebody who's close to you and bring them up so that you can help them to get them to where they want to be. And listen, guys, so thank you so much for watching this episode. The action point for this episode is go and sign up to my email list. Now, why should you give me your email? Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a set of tips inside of the email, so you'll be able to go and check that out down below. Go and check out, you'll be able to see that there's 7 tips on spirituality for the email address. With the email, I won't be spamming you with any stuff. I'll notify you when stuff are out if you want it, and I'll let you know when I've got new stuff going on so that you can keep up to date. This is a journey that we're all going to be taking together as I grow and expand, and as you guys grow and expand, you're going to be helping me, bringing more people on the journey. You'll be starting to do your own things as well. And this is going to be a real beautiful thing. So, listen, as always, this has been the Wisdom for Humanity podcast series. Thank you so much for watching. This has been episode 7 on spirituality. I have loved to bring this episode to you. I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, take care of yourselves, guys. Look after each other, love one another, and I will see you in the next episode.